Video blog.
Hey there, this is Tim from Twice Circled, and welcome to episode 1 of the official Megaquarium video blog. Megaquarium is a game all about running your own public aquarium. It's kind of like Roller Coaster Tycoon, but with fish. Now if you like the sound of that, keep on watching. Now I am so excited to finally be able to share this with you guys. If you read my announcement blog post, you'll know that it's been in development for almost a year now, and I've been working on it since kind of spring 2016. Obviously not full time because I've been working on Big Pharma, putting updates out for that. But unlike Big Pharma, which I got to announce after about 6 months, this one I've had to wait a fair bit longer. And so since about September last year, I've been really itching to show you guys, but I held off because I wanted to make sure that when I did show it to you, I was showing you something that was, at least the basic foundation of a real game, so that you could understand what this game was going to be all about. Now, in today's episode, I'm going to be introducing the basic premise of the game. I'm going to be showing you some of the kind of core mechanics, if you like. I'm going to be showing you the build that I actually took to Rezzed in London just a couple of weeks ago, which is a PC gaming convention, mostly PC, in London, where some people got to play Megaquarium live for the first time ever. It's the first time members of the public have ever got to play the game. But I know that there's loads of people out there who don't live in the UK or couldn't make it to that, and so what I'm going to be doing today is actually running through the exact build that I took to Rezzed so that everyone else can see what the game's about so far. So with that in mind, let's hop into a game. Okay, so people who are familiar with my last game, Big Pharma, may kind of notice a relatively similar aesthetic. There are some differences. We don't have any outlines or anything, but I definitely wanted to have that same sort of vibe where everything's really bright and colourful. And this is basically the aquarium space. It starts off small, but of course you will be able to extend it. And the big difference between this and Big Pharma is that it's actually 3D. So you will be able to rotate your aquarium around in all 3 dimensions, which should be really useful, because this is definitely a game where you kind of, you're placing down lots of stuff and you might want to look behind things, and that's why I decided to go with a 3D engine this time. It's my first 3D engine ever, actually, so it's been a really interesting learning experience, and that's something I might talk a bit more about in a later vlog, but right now let's start with the basics. So what do you do in Megaquarium? So it's mostly formed around the construction and management of tanks, just like a real aquarium. So if we follow this basic tutorial / to-do list, what it's going to get us to do is set up our very first small aquarium, and it's going to start with us building a couple of tanks. So we go over to the build menu. People who played Big Pharma will be very familiar with this. You have all these different categories of things you can build. You click, it comes out, and we're going to build this basic tank. Now, the different types of tanks, which I'll introduce in due course, maybe in a later vlog, maybe in this one, because there's so much to talk about. I'm going to kind of keep to the basics for now. So we build a couple of those. You just click to place them. There are some nuances to do with the way you might want to lay out your tanks, but again, that's something I might talk about later. The next thing the tutorial is asking us to do is attach a filter to our tanks. Now, fish produce waste when they eat. That food that they eat has to go somewhere. Yeah, they basically poop it out. And you might not have ever thought about this unless you're a fish geek at home, but that poop has to go somewhere. And unlike other animals, say in zoos, where they can have like a corner or something that gets mucked out, with an aquarium it just goes straight into the water. And so what you need is a constant filtration system, which is taking the water out of the aquarium, passing it through some various there's mechanical filtering, which is when you kind of sieve the water. But there's also biological filtration, which is when you actually use bacteria to kind of digest the waste that comes out of a fish and turn it into less harmful forms. So what we have here is a basic canister filter, which we attach directly to our tank. You can see it's grey, but when we hover it next to the tank, it goes full colour. And this basically gives our tank some filtering capacity, which makes it so that our fish will be able to live okay in there. So we're going to add one of these to each of the tanks. And then the next thing it's getting us to do is jumping straight into it. We're gonna add some fish to the tanks. So currently we've only got one fish that we can add. It's the Azure Demoiselle. This is a type of damsel fish. It's also, I think, called a blue damsel fish. And I'll explain all the information over on the right in a moment. But what we're going to do for now is select that, add a couple of fish to each of the tanks. And now I'm going to zoom in. Like, it's time to actually have a little look at what we've got here. I am such a fan of the amazing work that my artist has done when it comes to the fish. I mean, the animations are just beautiful, and I just think they look so great. Like, you can watch them kind of turn, and when they kind of dash off to other parts of the aquarium, and then they stop again. If you're thinking the tanks look a bit sparse at the moment, don't worry. We will be adding to those. And if you're thinking the fish look quite small, don't worry. They're only babies, and they will grow over time if you look after them. So the next thing our tutorial is telling us to do is hire an aquarist. So an aquarist, if you don't know, is basically someone who looks after the fish in an aquarium. So we click the staff menu here, and we can browse the available aquarists. So we've got Fred, Dante, Rachel, and Verity, and all this stuff is kind of, there's going to be so much more detail on this page in future about all of the kind of things about the staff. For now, what we've got is just their salary per day, a couple of skills which determine how good they are at certain jobs, and then there's a little bio here. For example, Verity's favourite animal is the seahorse. She's a diligent worker who won't leave until the day's jobs are done. And then we've got Fred, who has an engineering mind and is good at fixing equipment when it breaks. He likes crustaceans. At the moment, these bios have no impact in the game. But eventually, I would actually like to have some kind of traits that run behind these biographies. So that each of your staff, as well as their skills, they have a couple of things which set them apart from other staff, which you're going to need to be aware of. So who should we go for? Should we get Rachel? Rachel is a self-confessed crossword fiend. She's a sacred respect for all living creatures, and her favourite animal is the squid. Unfortunately, we haven't got any squids yet, but we will eventually. So let's not in today's episode. There's no squids. I didn't want to I didn't want anyone to get excited. Okay, now this is actually a little bit of feedback I got from when I took the show to Res that I definitely need to fix. You don't really get much confirmation when you hire a staff member. You can look here if we go to the Manage tab that we have got Rachel. She is currently working for us. And you can see that we've now completed this task. Now the final thing we need to do before opening our aquarium is we need to build a food box. Now this mechanic is going to be made more complicated in the future, but right now we just have one type of food box. Now we place this, and you can see that there's an arrow which is pointing at the food box. This is the direction which the food box can be accessed. So we need to make sure that it's not facing a wall or a tank, because otherwise no one can access it. So we're just going to build the food box over in that corner. And that allows the staff to pick up food and then take it to feed the fish. Now it's telling me to open your aquarium. Now, let's do it. And there's Rachel, who's just entered our aquarium, along with a guest. And you might have noticed we actually got a bit of money when the guest turned up. Let's see, there we go. We got another 20 when that guest turned up. Now, currently they're not coming in very fast because the speed at which they come in is directly proportional to how good your aquarium is. And this is a very basic aquarium at the moment. I mean, let's face it. You might have seen Rachel went and picked up some food, then she went over to this tank, and then she's basically fed our fish. They actually would have got a little bit bigger. If you watch these fish here, watch, they'll actually get bigger as Rachel feeds them. Did that happen? I think it happened as soon as she started. It was quite quick, wasn't it? You have to rewind the video to see if that, see the effects of that. Now, if you're familiar with games like Roller Coaster Tycoon, you'll know that you kind of open your your aquarium, and then that's just open forever. So something that's a little bit different. I'm just going to pause the game because I got a few things I want to talk about. One of the things that's a bit different about Megaquarium at the moment is I'm experimenting with this day cycle. So I've never had this before in a game. It's really interesting. But basically, you can see that it's 3:30 on day one. Now, when we get to 5 o'clock, the aquarium will close and everybody will go home, including our staff. And so it doesn't just kind of stretch out in front of you forever. There's this quite definite, what's the right word? It kind of breaks up the gameplay a little bit and I think it breaks up into more manageable chunks that allows you to understand what's going on. And you'll see that it will infiltrate all sorts of mechanics in the game. One of them is feeding. So these fish, most fish, need feeding once a day. Some fish need feeding multiple times a day, and some need feeding less than once a day. And so instead of this being just like a timer, like some fish need feeding every 5 minutes, some fish need feeding every 7 minutes, which is a bit weird, we have this very manageable day cycle. So you kind of get used to you needing to get your staff to go around and feed all your fish a day. So that's what I'm going with at the moment, and it's I think it's working so far. I'd love to hear what you guys think. I think it's quite a novel mechanic. It's certainly not something I've seen a huge amount in games such as this. I guess Prison Architect had a day cycle, so I guess it has been seen quite a lot. I take it all back. Okay, now the other thing I wanted to talk about before the day ended is that you'll notice that these guests, they come in and they look at the tanks, and these little icons come flying out of them, and you'll notice these icons are matched by these icons in the bottom left bar. Now, I will talk about what's going on here in a moment, but I will just finish here. Now, these are the resources that you gather while having your aquarium open. So you have money, which you use to buy things, and then we have ecology points and science points. And here we have prestige points, which we haven't gotten yet. Prestige points are the rarest of all the points, but yeah, I'll talk about those in a later video probably. Now, these are what you use. Ecology and science points are what you use to unlock new things generally in the game. And something I wanted to do from the very beginning when designing this game is I didn't want money to be the only resource, because I think having other resources can make it a bit more interesting. It can allow the player to prioritize what resource they're trying to gather the most of, and change the way their aquarium is set up to maximize that. Whereas with Big Pharma, it was very much, you just want to make loads of money. And because there was no other resources, it was very difficult to incentivize the player to do anything other than just make loads of money. So that's what's going on there. Now, this window has popped up. It's called the day summary. This tells us about everything that's happened so far in the day. I feel like this is going to be something that's going to grow and grow and grow, and eventually it'll have probably loads of tabs and all this sort of thing, and it'll tell you, everything that's gone on, and it'll be a really nice way to take stock after a day has gone by and see what's changed so far. So on the first page, the most important page in my opinion, you have the kind of feeding summary. So here are our 4 fish. You'll notice we don't actually have 4 fish. We have 6 here and 6 here. Now, small fish come in shoals of 3 or 2 or 4 or 5 or whatever, or 1. Actually, no, you can't have a shoal of 1. That's just a fish. So, yeah, each of these fish actually represents 3 fish. And that's just to do with reasons of scale, because if every single fish, we'd have 12 fish already at this point, and we've only just started the game, which would be crazy. Now, because these all got fed, they actually gained a block on their growth path. And actually, you can see this +1. This +1 means they gain a stat. So you can see here that 2 of them gained a colourful stat and 2 of them gained a hardy stat. Now, when we get into the next day, I will explain what these are all about. If we hadn't managed to feed our fish, they would have gone hungry, which is not good. And you won't gain a block on your growth path, and you may lose one. On the next page, we have a financial summary. So we have the entrance ticket income. We have ongoing costs like food and staff salaries. So our total profit today was 130. We don't include capital costs in this summary because you're always going to be spending money improving your aquarium. You're not really bothered about the capital expenditure. What you're interested in is how much you're making per day. You know, if this is negative, you've got a big problem. And it also summarizes how much ecology, science, and prestige we earned. Okay, now it is the next day. You'll see it's actually day 2 now, and it's 9 o'clock in the morning. But we have another opportunity now to add to our aquarium, to manage our staff. You know, we can, even though our staff aren't here yet, I mean, they don't work for free. They only turn up at 9 o'clock. We can go to this manage tab. We can actually bring up Rachel here, and there's no, you know, like I said, you know, the game is still, you know, pretty early in development. I want to add so much more. Eventually, what I want is you to be able to give your staff instructions via their window here, and these won't be direct instructions. They'll be mostly in the form of priorities. Anyway, I shouldn't get too distracted. That's something I should talk about in a later vlog. But anyway, I wanted to show you that there is a way of talking to your staff even when they're not in your aquarium. But this is an opportunity before anybody arrives just to change the management, maybe expand your aquarium and that sort of thing. So again, this was something I thought would be quite cool about having a day cycle, is that, you know, in like Big Pharma and a lot of these games, you kind of pause the game and then you do everything and then you unpause the game. Or I guess in something like Roller Coaster Tycoon, they fight that by actually making it so you can't build while the game is paused. Well, I decided to have a different thing. If people want to pause, I don't mind that. And if you want to build while you're paused, that's fine, because this is meant to be a relaxing game. But why not add a time at the beginning of each day when you're kind of being said, right, this is a great time to add stuff to your aquarium because you're not going to have people in the way and all that sort of thing. At the moment, I haven't decided whether you're going to be able to still build during the day. At the moment, you can, because I don't see any reason to stop you doing it. But maybe one day, if there's enough to do during the day, then I might just have 2 phases, which is like the build phase and the management phase. We'll see. So I wanted to show you a little bit more about the fish. You have here the total ecology and science points that you get, and this is actually this total is come to by just adding up the values of the fish that are inside it. I mean, I say that, but actually, I think I've already just noticed a small bug, because it does seem that these 2 aren't being added up. It's only showing one of them. So that's strange, I have to admit. It's really strange. Is this one the same? Okay, this one's saying 6 and 4. Okay. Really strange. Okay, no, I see the bug. The bug is actually that the fish themselves actually have, these numbers are too big, so it should just say 2 and 3. For some reason I'm showing the value for the entire tank. I don't know why I'm doing that. Let's just pretend that wasn't the case. I can't believe I didn't see that bug at Res. That's really annoying. Anyway, imagine this says 2 and 3. Okay, now if we buy another fish, I don't want to buy another fish, but I just explained that these basically both started at 2, and so that their hardy stat has now increased to 3, and that actually increases the amount of science points that the fish earns. And over here, interestingly enough, sorry, this one over here, the opposite is happening. This is just random which stats get improved. You can actually see that here it's the ecology points that have increased, and so yeah. Your fish, while they start off kind of with a static set of skills, they will actually increase randomly, and so I think that'll allow for some really interesting combos and that sort of thing in the future, because you'll be able to make use of those stat increases in different ways and prioritize different the earnings of science and ecology points. Now, right, I was just having a little look at my notes, other stuff I wanted to talk about today. Now, that's about it that I'm going to show you today. I'm going to show you one more thing before I move on to more stuff in a later vlog. And yeah, I just wanted to show you the decoration. So this is the final kind of building block we have for our aquarium. You have decorations which are static and added to your tanks. Now these, you have different kinds. Here you got a small rock which actually adds to the biological filtration for your tank, and that actually helps increase its capacity. I just want to say that this mechanic here is very much subject to change. At the moment, the filter capacity of your filter and your rocks and all this sort of stuff increases the capacity of your tanks directly, and you can see here that these both at size 2, so they're 4 out of 5. But I might actually make it a bit more interesting. I might make it a bit more dynamic. So any aquarium buffs out there, don't worry. I may have some more complicated simulation of how filtering works in the future. But the other type of decoration I want to show you is the plant, which gives +2 ecology per species with the colourful trait. Now, in fact, yeah, we added that to the right one because do you remember that this is the one with the high ecology? Oh, actually, no, it doesn't matter. Sorry. Ignore what I just said. All that matters with this one is that whether they have the colourful trait or not. So if I select these two, you can see that these both have the colourful trait, and so it gives +2 ecology, and so the total ecology for this tank is now 8. So this tank is now going to earn more than it would otherwise. This one's only 4. So that is just a very basic decoration, but I hope you can see the potential for loads of synergies between your decorations and your choices of fish, so that you can create really high point value tanks, gain more points, and then get to unlock loads of cool stuff. Now, I know it's been just a brief visit into the world of Megaquarium, and I hope you're not too disappointed that I'm going to stop now. I'm going to hold a little bit more back for the vlog next week because there's so much stuff I want to talk about there. But hopefully you've enjoyed this introduction, and yeah, you'll come back next week for the next episode of the official Megaquarium video blog. Thanks for watching, guys. Bye bye.